Science Officer Zexclith moved his 4 tentacles across the control panel with practiced efficiency. The diplomatic vessel Harmony of Stars had detected unusual radio signals from this uncharted solar system, and standard protocol required investigation before making contact. "Captain, I believe we've found another sentient species," Zexclith said, his voice translator converting his native clicks into the common galactic language. Captain Grinal floated over to the viewing screen. "Show me." The screen displayed a blue-green planet, third from its yellow star. The planet teemed with life and artificial structures, but what caught the captain's compound eyes was a recording the ship's AI had flagged. A human male stood atop a structure preparing to jump into a small body of water far below. Another human held a recording device, laughing. The jumper handed a container of liquid to his friend and said, "Hold my beer." The AI had compiled hundreds of similar recordings where these creatures said this phrase before attempting something dangerous, improbable, or simply stupid. They deliberately court danger for entertainment. Grinal's skin changed to a pale green of confusion. "It appears so, Captain. Their physiology is remarkably durable. They evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature variations." Zexclith pulled up more data. Their bodies constantly repair themselves. They can survive losing significant blood volume, and they continue functioning despite severe damage. The captain gestured with a tentacle. "Begin first contact procedures, but add a note to Central Command. These creatures may require special handling." 3 months later, the first official diplomatic meeting between humans and the Galactic Federation took place aboard the Harmony of Stars. Earth sent Captain Jack Harding and Lieutenant Olivia Green of the International Space Alliance as representatives. The meeting started well. Captain Harding followed the protocol perfectly until the translation system struggled with a complex legal term regarding non-interference pacts. After 20 minutes of careful diplomacy by both sides, Jack grew frustrated. He turned to Olivia, handed her his datapad and said, "Hold my beer." The Federation AI immediately flagged the phrase, and security officers tensed up. Jack walked to the main computer interface, took out a pocket tool, and made an adjustment to the translation matrix that technically violated several protocols about handling alien technology. To everyone's surprise, it worked perfectly. "There," Jack said with a smile. "That should clear things up." The Federation representative stared in silent shock. According to their laws, what he had done should have been impossible, without years of study. It was like watching someone solve a complex equation by scribbling outside the lines. Later, in a private meeting, Zexclith addressed his fellow officers. "The humans display a troubling trait. When conventional methods fail, they abandon them entirely. They don't see rules as absolute." "Are they dangerous?" asked Security Chief Vikatlar. "Potentially," Zexclith replied, showing footage of humans surviving accidents that would kill most species. They evolved on a death world and treat danger as a challenge rather than a warning. Captain Grinal made the final decision. "We officially welcome Earth to the galactic community, but we implement Containment Protocol 7. Sir, that's the same protocol we use for the warrior Krell." V. Katler's scales rippled in alarm. "Yes, but for a different reason. The Krell are predictably aggressive. These humans are unpredictably innovative. Each time they say, 'Hold my beer,' they attempt something that should fail but often succeeds." The captain looked at the human vessel docked. 2 years after first contact, the Galactic Federation decided to test humanity's problem-solving abilities. They presented Earth with what they called a simple exercise, a quantum mechanics puzzle, that had stumped the greatest alien minds for centuries. Dr. Samantha Kelly stared at the holographic display until her eyes hurt. The small lab at Midwest State University wasn't equipped for alien technology, but the Federation had insisted that humans work with minimal assistance. "This is impossible," Sam said, pushing her glasses up her nose. "The quantum variables keep shifting every time we apply standard equations." Her colleague, Kevin Rogers, nodded while typing notes. "Maybe that's the point. The aliens want to see how we handle failure." For 3 weeks, Sam and her team tried everything. They applied Earth physics, then attempted to use the alien mathematical systems they'd learned. Nothing worked. The Federation? Observers watched silently, recording everything. On the 22nd night, Kevin arrived at the lab carrying a small cooler. "I brought refreshments," he said, pulling out several bottles of beer. "We need to relax our brains." Sam took a bottle, gratefully. After 2 drinks, she looked at the quantum puzzle with fresh eyes. The hologram showed particles that shouldn't be able to exist together, yet somehow did. "What if," she said slowly, "the puzzle isn't about solving the equation, but about changing our understanding of the question?" She took another sip of beer and walked to the board covered in failed attempts. "The particles aren't actually in conflict. They're in multiple states simultaneously." Kevin frowned. "That violates at least 3 laws of physics." "Only if you believe those laws are fixed." Sam handed him her beer. "Hold this for me." The Federation observers immediately perked up, their recording devices focusing intently on Sam. She grabbed a marker and began writing a new equation, one that allowed for particles to exist in contradictory states without canceling each other out. It wasn't elegant, it broke several fundamental rules. But when she input the solution into the alien device, the hologram stabilized. "How did you do that?" Kevin asked, amazed. Sam took her beer back with a smile. "I stopped trying to make the puzzle fit our understanding of physics and instead changed our physics to fit the puzzle." In the observation room next door, the alien representatives were having an emergency meeting. "The human solved it," said ZX Clith, his tentacles moving nervously. "In 3 weeks. Security Chief V. Cutlar's scales rippled with concern. "The Arcturians took 3 centuries to solve that puzzle. The Nexari gave up after 500 years. And she did it after consuming a mild intoxicant," added another observer. "Did you notice?" She handed her drink to her colleague and said, "Hold my beer." Zexclith finished. The phrase preceded another improbable success. Captain Grinnell, who had been monitoring from the Federation flagship, sent an urgent message: upgrade human threat assessment from moderate concern to potentially destabilizing. Their ability to think beyond established parameters poses a significant risk to galactic stability. Meanwhile, Sam and Kevin celebrated with the rest of their team, completely unaware that they had just terrified half the galaxy. "I can't believe it worked," Kevin said, raising his bottle in a toast. "Neither can I," Sam admitted. "But that's the beauty of physics. Sometimes you have to break the rules to understand them better." Across campus, other research teams were tackling different Federation tests. In the engineering department, a graduate student was saying those same fateful words before attempting to combine Earth and alien technology in ways the Federation had deemed impossible. In orbit, the Federation observation vessel added another note to their growing file on humanity. Species demonstrates alarming ability to find solutions outside established parameters, exhibits tendency toward impossible thinking. Most concerning, they appear to enter this state more readily when consuming their traditional fermented beverages. The Federation Council voted unanimously to limit human access to advanced alien technology while increasing their study of these unpredictable beings. Sam fell asleep that night dreaming of quantum possibilities, not knowing she had just earned humanity both respect and fear throughout the galaxy. With their ship, we monitor them closely, we share technology slowly, and most importantly, we flag any communication containing the phrase, "hold my beer," for immediate security analysis. Meanwhile, Jack and Olivia celebrated their successful first contact, unaware that the Federation's threat assessment system had just created a new category specifically for humans. Unpredictably resourceful, approach with caution. And somewhere, on Earth, a college student was telling his friend to hold his beer while he tried to modify a toaster into a small anti-gravity device, just for fun. The mining colony on Rigel 7 faced certain doom. A massive solar storm had damaged their atmospheric generators, and the thin air was slowly leaking into space. Over 10,000 colonists from 12 different species had less than 30 hours before oxygen levels would become fatal. The Federation Council sent their best engineers, but after quick calculations, they reached a grim conclusion. Evacuation was the only option, and even then, they expected to lose 30% of the population. "We need a miracle," the colony governor told the emergency response team. That miracle arrived in the form of the USS Intrepid, the first human vessel approved for long-range missions. Captain Frank Martinez had picked up the distress call while returning from a diplomatic mission. "This is outside our jurisdiction," his first officer pointed out. "People are dying," Frank replied simply. "We help." When the Intrepid arrived, Federation ships were already evacuating colonists. The situation looked hopeless. The atmospheric generators were complex alien technology that humans had little experience with. Frank sent his chief engineer, Allison, Wright, to assess the damage anyway. Allison had a reputation for fixing things that others considered beyond repair. Allison studied the alien machinery for 15 minutes, her face growing increasingly serious. Federation engineers watched with a mixture of pity and impatience. "You should return to your ship," said lead engineer Pavtor. "This technology is far beyond human understanding. We designed these systems over centuries." Allison ignored him, her mind working through possibilities. Then she smiled and turned to her assistant. "Carl, hold my beer." The Federation engineers froze. Their translators had caught those words, and warning signals immediately went to security. For the next 4 hours, Allison worked with incredible speed. She took parts from the Intrepid, combined them with pieces of the damaged generators, and created connections that violated several engineering principles. Her hands moved with certainty even as the alien engineers protested that her fixes would make things worse. "This shouldn't work," Pavtor said, watching her connect incompatible systems together. "You're mixing technologies that operate on completely different principles." "Sometimes different principles can work together if you find the right connection," Allison replied without looking up. With just 2 hours of breathable atmosphere remaining, Allison activated her makeshift system. It hummed, sparked, and then stabilized. The atmospheric readings began to improve. What should have been impossible was happening. The colony was being saved. "How?" Peter asked, his translator struggling to convey his shock. Allison wiped sweat from her forehead. "Your system was too perfect, too rigid. It couldn't adapt when damaged. I made it messy, but flexible." News of the Rigel miracle spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Federation citizens celebrated while their leaders held emergency meetings. "This is the third Hold My Beer incident in 6 months," said Security Council leader Zik Var. "Each time, humans accomplish something our science says is impossible." Captain Granal, now promoted to admiral, reviewed the data. "The engineer created a patch using our technology and theirs in ways we never considered. She didn't follow any established protocols." "And she succeeded," added Zexclith, who had become the Federation's leading expert on humans. "Which makes them even more dangerous. They don't just break rules, they prove the rules were never absolute to begin with." The Security Council voted to establish a special monitoring division. Its sole purpose, to detect and analyze any human communication containing the phrase, "Hold my beer." Captain Peter Collins of the diplomatic vessel Endeavour was not having a good day. The Taurian Empire had requested a private meeting away from Federation observers, which already broke several rules. His orders were to listen but make no commitments. "I don't like this," said Maya Daniels, Earth's chief diplomat for alien relations. "The Taurians have been rivals of the Federation for millennia. Why reach out to us now?" "Because we're the new kids on the block," Peter replied as they walked to the meeting room. "Everyone wants to know which side we'll choose." The Taurian representatives waited inside. They looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and 4 arms. Their leader, Commander Vax, greeted them with a formal bow. "We appreciate your discretion," Vax said. "What we offer must remain between our species." For the next hour, the Taurians outlined their proposal. They wanted a military alliance with Earth. In exchange, they would share advanced technology that the Federation had withheld from humans. "You must understand your unique position," Vax explained. "The Federation fears you." Maya kept her face neutral. "Why would they fear us? We're centuries behind most species technologically." Vax displayed a hologram showing various human activities. Each clip ended with someone saying, "Hold my beer," before doing something dangerous or seemingly impossible. "We have been collecting these," Vax said. "Your species has a remarkable ability to achieve outcomes that defy conventional wisdom. The Federation calls it chaotic innovation. They consider it dangerous." Peter leaned forward. "And you don't?" "We see opportunity," Vax replied. "Your unpredictability would make you perfect allies." After the meeting, Maya accessed the Federation database using her diplomatic clearance. What she found confirmed the Tarians' claims. Humans were classified as unpredictably dangerous with a threat assessment higher than several warrior species. "They've been studying us like lab animals," she told Peter that evening. "Every time someone says, 'hold my beer,' it triggers alerts across Federation space." Peter took a drink from his glass. "So both sides want to use us. The Federation keeps us contained, while the Taurians want to weaponize our unpredictability." The next evening, both human representatives attended a formal function with Federation and Taurian officials. The tension between the two alien groups was obvious. After several drinks, a Taurian military officer challenged Peter to an impossible task: to solve a puzzle cube that had stumped their best minds for decades. "Our species has 6 fingers per hand," the officer said. "The puzzle requires 6-fingered manipulation. No human could possibly solve it." The Federation representatives watched nervously as Peter examined the cube. He had drunk too much and was feeling bold. He handed his drink to Maya. "Hold my beer." Alarm flashed across the faces of the Federation officials. Recording devices activated automatically. Peter studied the cube for 5 minutes, then began manipulating it in ways its creators never intended. He used not just his fingers, but his knuckles, wrists, and even his chin. 20 minutes later, the puzzle clicked and unfolded, solved for the first time by any non-Tarian. The room fell silent. Then the Tarians burst into approving clicks, while the Federation representatives huddled together in urgent conversation. The next morning, Maya discovered both groups had sent urgent messages to their governments. Within a week, representatives from 15 different species arrived at Earth, all seeking cultural exchange programs with humans. The Federation quietly raised Earth's threat level to immediate concern and implemented new surveillance measures on all human vessels. Neither Peter nor Maya fully understood what had happened, but they knew the balance of power had shifted. Human unpredictability had become the most sought-after resource in the galaxy, and everyone wanted to control it. Meanwhile, the phrase, "hold my beer," was being studied in linguistic labs across 3 galactic arms, as scientists tried to understand its seemingly magical properties. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humanity remained unaware of the fear they were causing. The crew of the Intrepid received medals for their heroism at Rigel 7. Allison's solution was studied in engineering classes as an example of creative problem-solving. And across human space, people continued to utter those fateful words before attempting the impossible, each time setting off alarms in Federation monitoring stations. The ancient Arcturian species had seen enough. For 50,000 years they had maintained peace in the galaxy through their wisdom and advanced technology. Now, they watched as both the Federation and the Taurian Empire raced to secure human allies. Something had to be done. "We announced the Great Tournament," the Arcturian High Council declared to all spacefaring species. "Each civilization will send champions to compete in tests of intelligence, strength, and innovation. The results will determine new trade agreements and alliance structures." Earth's leaders understood the real purpose. This was about humans and their disruptive influence on galactic politics. "We need our best people," said the Earth president during an emergency meeting. "People who embody human creativity and determination." They selected former military officer Diane Cooper to lead the human team. Among her team members was Joe Ramirez, a mechanic from Arizona with an uncanny ability to fix anything. "I'm just a repair guy," Joe protested when told of his selection. "I never even finished college." "That's exactly why we need you," Diane explained. "The aliens think in rigid patterns. They expect academic solutions. You solve problems differently." The tournament began on a neutral world with representatives from 27 species. The Arcturians designed challenges that tested conventional problem-solving methods, clearly favoring the older, more established civilizations. During the first challenge, an intelligence test involving quantum computing, Joe watched their team struggle. The other human scientists attempted to follow the standard mathematical approaches, falling further behind. After 2 hours of frustration, Joe stepped forward. "This isn't working," he said. "May I try something?" Diane nodded, though the Federation observers tensed visibly. They had learned to recognize when humans were about to do something unpredictable. Joe handed his drink to a teammate. "Hold my beer." The monitoring systems immediately flagged the phrase. Security teams went on alert. Joe approached the quantum computer and studied it briefly. Instead of using the provided interface, he reconfigured the entire system. He bypassed the security protocols and created a direct neural link that the designers had never intended. "You can't do that," protested a Federation official. "The system wasn't designed for direct interface." "Sometimes you have to ignore the design and focus on what works," Joe replied as he made the final connection. What should have taken days was completed in 3 hours. The Arcturian judges stared in disbelief. Several made notes in their personal devices. Later, during the Innovation Challenge, Joe used a similar approach. When asked to improve an alien fusion drive, he combined technologies in ways that violated several engineering principles but somehow yielded better results. Each time, he started with those 4 fateful words that now made alien officials nervous. By the final day, humans had not won the most points, but they had caused the most discussion. The Arcturian High Council called an emergency session. "The humans display a trait we have not seen in 50,000 years of observation," said High Elder Zahn. "They achieve the impossible through what they call thinking outside the box." "It is dangerous," argued Federation Security Director V. Cutler. "They ignore established knowledge. They take risks no rational species would consider. Yet they succeed," countered another elder. "Perhaps our own thinking has become too rigid." The council debated for days. Finally, they reached a conclusion that shocked many. Humanity will be granted special status within the galactic community. Their perspective is valuable precisely because it is different. The Federation's internal security director was not PLA. Dark void appeared at the edge of inhabited space. It started small, just a pinprick of absolute darkness against the stars. Within weeks, it grew large enough to swallow planets. The Federation called it the Void, and nothing they tried could stop its growth. At the current expansion rate, it will reach major population centers in 3 months, reported Federation Science Director Lethevin to the Emergency Council. "We have tried every known scientific approach without success." Admiral Grenal, who had been monitoring human activities for years, made an unexpected suggestion. "We should ask the humans for help." The council chamber erupted in objections. "Their chaotic methods could make things worse," someone shouted. "Or they might see a solution we've missed," Grenal countered. "Desperate times call for desperate measures." 2 days later, Dr. Eric Patterson received the strangest call of his career. As head of Earth's Advanced Physics Initiative, he had worked with alien scientists before, but never had they requested human help so urgently. "You want us to solve a problem that the entire Federation couldn't fix?" Eric asked, stunned. "We need alternative thinking," the Federation representative admitted reluctantly. Eric assembled a team that included his best graduate student, Nicole Baker. Nicole had a reputation for unusual approaches to physics problems. When they arrived at the Federation science vessel near the Void, the situation had worsened. The darkness had consumed 3 uninhabited systems and was accelerating. "It defies all known physical laws," the alien scientists explained. "Matter enters but nothing returns. Even light is consumed." For 2 weeks, Eric's team worked alongside the Federation's finest minds. They tried conventional approaches first: gravitational countermeasures, energy fields, and spatial folding. Nothing worked. One night, after everyone else had gone to sleep, Nicole stayed in the lab staring at the data. She opened a small flask she had smuggled aboard. "Earth whiskey," she explained when Eric caught her. "Sometimes I think better with a little chemical assistance." Eric should have reported the contraband, but instead he found 2 cups. They drank and talked about the problem in increasingly creative ways, moving further from established theories. What if we're thinking about this all wrong? Nicole said suddenly. We're treating the void as a natural phenomenon. What if it's artificial? Created by whom? Eric asked. I don't know, but look at these energy patterns. She pointed to readings no one had focused on. They're too regular, too precise. Nicole took another sip and stood up with sudden excitement. I have an idea, it's crazy, but... She handed her cup to Eric. Hold my beer. The Federation's monitoring system immediately flagged the phrase. Security officers watching through hidden cameras tensed. Nicole began programming a new approach into the main computer. She combined Earth theories considered scientifically reckless by Federation standards with fragments of alien mathematics. This can't work, protested the lead Federation scientist who had been awakened by the alerts. You're treating the void as if it were an artificial construct with a program shutdown sequence. Exactly, Nicole said without looking up. And I'm sending that sequence now. She pressed the final command. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, at the edge of the void, a faint flicker of light appeared. The darkness began to recede. Within hours, stars became visible again where the void had been. The Federation scientists were speechless. How did you know? Eric asked Nicole. I didn't, she admitted. But the energy patterns reminded me of computer code. It seemed worth trying. The Federation report later noted, human intuitive problem solving, especially when combined with mild intoxicants, appears to activate neural pathways that allow for non-standard connections. Of particular concern is their ability to recognize patterns that our more logical approach overlooks. Earth's threat level was raised to existential consideration with a notation. Their habit of finding solutions that should be theoretically impossible makes them both invaluable allies and potential security risks. Meanwhile, Nicole returned to Earth as a hero, unaware that her approach had confirmed the worst fears of some alien species, that humans could unravel the fabric of reality simply by thinking differently about it, eased. In a private message to Earth's space agencies, he proposed new restrictions on human expansion. While we value your unique contributions, your tendency toward unpredictable problem-solving requires careful monitoring. Unaware of these political movements, Joe returned to his repair shop in Arizona, telling friends about his adventures in space. None of them noticed the small Arcturian probe that monitored their conversations, paying special attention whenever anyone uttered those 4 words. Hold my beer, watch this. Nicole couldn't sleep. Since returning to Earth after solving the Void crisis, she had spent weeks reviewing the data. Something bothered her about the whole situation. The Void wasn't natural, she told Eric when they met at the university lab. But who created it and why? Eric looked uncomfortable. The Federation closed the case. They don't want us investigating further. Because they're hiding something, Nicole insisted. She pulled up images from other recent crises across the galaxy. Look at these energy signatures. The quantum puzzle they gave Sam Kelly, the atmospheric, failure on Rigel 7, even the void. They all share a mathematical pattern. Eric saw it immediately. They're connected? That's impossible. These events happened in different parts of the galaxy, years apart. Unless they were all tests, Nicole said quietly. Someone has been testing humanity. They worked in secret for months, gathering data from every crisis where humans had provided an unexpected solution. The pattern became clearer. Each situation had been carefully designed to appear unsolvable through conventional means. Then Nicole received an anonymous message. Seek the Equilibrium Directive. After weeks of discreet questioning and searching databases, they discovered references to a secretive multi-species group that had existed for thousands of years. Their mission? To maintain the evolutionary balance of the galaxy. We need to confront them, Nicole said. But how do we find a group that's remained hidden for millennia? The answer came unexpectedly. Federation Ambassador Helen Rodriguez and Military attaché Scott Bradley arrived at their lab one day, closing the door behind them. "You've discovered the directive," Helen said without preamble. "They know, and they want to meet you." Scott looked grim. "This goes beyond normal politics. The directive believes humans represent an evolutionary leap that could either elevate the galaxy or destroy it." 2 days later, Nicole and Eric stood before the Equilibrium Directive Council. 12 beings from the oldest species in the galaxy. Their leader, a crystalline entity named Zor, addressed them directly. "For 10,000 years we have guided galactic evolution," Zor explained. "When a species develops too quickly or in dangerous directions, we intervene. By creating fake crises," Nicole accused. "Controlled challenges," Zor corrected. "We have tested every advanced species this way, but humans..." The crystal structure pulsed with light. Humans responded differently. The directive revealed what they had discovered. The phrase, "hold my beer," triggered a unique neural state in humans they called controlled chaos thinking. When humans uttered those words, their brains actually rewired temporarily, allowing connections between normally separate thought processes. "This ability could revolutionize the galaxy or tear it apart," Zor stated. "We must decide if humans should be contained or cultivated." Nicole was furious. "You've been manipulating us, risking lives with your tests." "To protect the galaxy," Zor insisted. "Your unpredictability threatens millennium of stable development." Back on the Federation diplomatic vessel, Helen and Scott discussed options. The directive was considering whether to restrict human development or even quarantine Earth completely. "We need to prove we're not a threat," Helen said. Scott had a different idea. "Or we prove we're too valuable to contain." He removed his official uniform jacket. "I need to infiltrate their central database. Their security is supposedly unbreakable." Helen looked concerned. "That's suicide. No one has ever accessed their systems." Scott handed her his badge. "Hold my beer." Scott's infiltration of the directive's headquarters succeeded beyond all expectations. Not only did he access their secure files, but he discovered evidence that the directive had been manipulating all species, including the Federation leadership. When confronted with this evidence, the Directive Council was divided. Half viewed Scott's success as proof of human danger. The other half saw potential. The Federation Grand Council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from 200 species gathered to decide humanity's fate. The evidence Scott had, obtained from the Equilibrium Directive's secret files, was displayed for all to see. "For thousands of years, the directive has been manipulating our development," Federation President Zakor told the Assembly. "They created crises to test us, to control our evolution." Ambassador Helen Rodriguez stood before the council, calm despite the tension. "We didn't ask to be different," she said, "but we are. The question is whether our differences make us enemies or valuable allies." The debate raged for days. Some species wanted Earth quarantined, calling humans too unpredictable to join galactic society. Others argued that humanity's unique thinking was exactly what the galaxy needed to progress. Scott Bradley demonstrated the hold my beer effect for the council. Under controlled conditions, he solved problems that had stumped alien scientists for generations, showing how humans could teach this approach to other species. "It's not magic," Scott explained. "It's about temporarily suspending the belief that something is impossible. When we say hold my beer, we're committing to try regardless of the odds." A coalition of younger alien species sided with humanity. They saw potential for growth rather than threat in the human approach. Finally, the Federation reached a historic decision. Earth would not be quarantined or restricted. Instead, they created a new classification for humanity: evolutionary catalyst, with a threat assessment of handle with care. "We recognize that humanity's unpredictability is both its greatest strength and its greatest danger," the Council decree stated. "Rather than fear this trait, we will learn from it." A new collaborative research initiative was established. Human hold my beer specialists were paired with alien scientists to tackle the galaxy's greatest challenges. Problems that had seemed unsolvable for centuries, suddenly yielded to human-alien cooperation. The phrase entered galactic common language, with aliens attempting to invoke the same problem-solving state. It rarely worked for them, but the attempt alone helped them think differently. At the University of New Terra, Nicole taught the first class on non-linear problem-solving to students from 30 different species. Her teaching assistant, a young Arcturian, tried the human approach during a difficult experiment. "Observe my technique," the Arcturian said to his classmates, holding up his drink. "Hold my fermentation liquid while I attempt this calculation using human methods." To everyone's surprise, especially the Arcturians, it worked. News reached the Federation monitoring station instantly. The Galactic Threat Assessment Board lit up once again, but this time with a different message. Evolutionary shift detected. Non-human species. The head of the station contacted Admiral Grenal immediately. "Sir, we have confirmed reports of a non-human successfully using the hold my beer technique. The Arcturian showed the same neural pattern shift we've only seen in humans before." Grenal was silent for a long moment. "So it can be learned. The humans aren't unique after all, they're just the first." Back on Earth, humanity remained largely unaware of their galactic importance. People still said, "Hold my beer," before attempting dangerous stunts or seemingly impossible tasks. Federation observers still monitored these events, but now with curiosity rather than fear. The Equilibrium Directive had been reformed, with human members joining for the first time in its history. Their mission changed from controlling evolution to guiding it positively. As Helen and Scott watched Nicole's class from the back of the lecture hall, Helen smiled. "We came so close to being seen as the galaxy's greatest threat. Instead, we became its greatest teachers," Scott replied. "Not bad for a species that solves problems by saying 'hold my beer' and winging it." Outside the window, ships from 100 worlds orbited Earth, their crews here to learn the human way of thinking. And somewhere in deep space, new challenges waited, problems that would require both alien wisdom and human creativity to solve. The galaxy would never be the same again, and that was exactly the point. "They did exactly what we feared," said one council member. "They broke through our strongest defenses using methods we never imagined." "Yes," replied another, "which means they could solve problems we never imagined either." Scott's actions had both confirmed the directive's fears and demonstrated humanity's potential as allies rather than threats. The galaxy stood at a crossroads, with humanity's future hanging in the balance.